Hi guys, welcome back to Too Cool for Middle School. I've seen a couple of these videos up lately and I love watching them, and I just thought that even more than like sharing it, I would just kind of like to have this for myself later or for Jensen later to see. And so I just wanted to share with you the labor and delivery story behind Jensen's birth. It's a little bit of a horror story, but it's what got him here. My due date was June 4th with him. And I worked all the way up until June 3rd. That was a Friday. So I was there at school. I was feeling okay. And I knew my due date was the next day. But I had just heard so many people talk about how, you know, like they went so far past their due date. They tried to go to the hospital and they just like weren't dilated enough or whatever. And so they ended up staying home for a few more days. And so we had school like that next Monday and Tuesday, and they were like half days, and all it was like assemblies and just like really easy last day of school stuff. So I figured like if I didn't have him over the weekend, then I would just go back to work on Monday and Tuesday. So like as I was leaving on that Friday, the 3rd, I just told my students like, okay, see you Monday or maybe never, bye. And then my coworkers, I was just like, all right, so don't know if I'll be back, but okay. And you know, I really didn't feel like I was gonna have him that next day anyway, so you know, I didn't even like clean up my room. Everything was just still out, and I just went home. So Saturday I was trying to like just take care of a few last minute things. Like I remember I went to Target and returned some kind of a sheet or something for his bed because it didn't fit. And you know, the guy was asking me like, oh well, when are you due? Because I looked really big, and I was like, today. He was like, then why are you here? It's like, because the sheet doesn't fit. I gotta get the right one, right? If he's coming soon. It's like, okay. So I remember walking around Target, and it was in the afternoon, and I was like having contractions, and I was like, all right, this is weird. I'm like having a few contractions in Target, and my husband was coaching, so it was my due date, but he was in Orange County doing his coaching thing, and he was just kind of checking in on me, and I was like, yeah, like kind of starting to have some contractions, but I know that's like common and doesn't necessarily mean you're like in labor. So he came home and we felt like going to dinner, so we went to Corner Bakery. And when we were having sandwiches at Corner Bakery, I just kept having to stand up when I would have a contraction and just kind of like breathe through it and like walk it out, and it was getting a little bit more intense. So we drove home from dinner, and I remember like we were going through these like little skinny streets in like San Marino, and they had all these speed bumps to make you go slower, and the speed bumps were just killing me. I was like, could you please go like really slow over the speed bumps? Like it was really starting to hurt. So when we were home, I got some app, I don't even remember what it was, I've deleted it now, but to like track your contractions. And so you like tap it when a contraction starts, and then tap it when it ends, and then tap when the next one starts. And within like an hour or two, it said like, go to the hospital, your contractions are really close together, and they were pretty intense. So we got in the car, like we were like, all right, this is weird, like I guess we just go to the hospital now. Like it wasn't like the baby was coming that second, like that's how you kind of always see it on TV, but we were like, all right, well, I think it's time to go to the hospital. So kind of just gathered up all our stuff, put it in the car, drove to the hospital, checked in, and we're like, yeah, I think we're having a baby. And so they just put you in like this kind of pre-room first, and they like hooked me up to like the you know, my little heart rate thing, whatever that cuff thing is, and then they put like little skinny seat belts over your stomach with like little sensors on them so that they can like monitor things in your belly. And I had PUP or whatever, I cannot remember at all now like what that stood for. It was a lot of P's, but it was just where like your skin gets really stretched out and it's like really irritated and bumpy, so it killed having those like scratchy things on it. I hated that. And then they would put like the slippy stuff on it, and it just like all felt terrible. I remember. And then I started having really intense contractions, and they were really close together, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is labor. Like I'm hooked up to all this stuff and this is killing, it hurts so bad. And then like they go up to check and see if you're dilated, and that does not feel very good. It's like a pap smear basically. They just have to like stick their hand up there and like see if you're like effaced or whatever. And so even though my contractions were really strong and really close together, I wasn't very far dilated. But the contractions were starting to hurt really, really bad. So I was there, like we got there, I don't know. See, this is why I want to record this, because I already forget so much of it. Because it just, I don't know, it goes by, like, it's just so intense and crazy. Like we got there at night, maybe it was like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. And we stayed at the hospital all night. My husband slept in the chair. I was like lying on the bed. They gave me morphine, I think, and I was like, I couldn't take Tylenol this whole time, you give me morphine. And so it helped a little bit, but it just helped me sleep a little. But I was still in so much pain, and they would just come back every couple hours and check you, and I just still wasn't very far dilated. So at this point we hadn't told anyone that we were at the hospital. And I was already kind of like out of it because they were like giving me morphine and stuff. So in the morning, it was like 9 in the morning, and they were like, well, we're gonna have to send you home. So that had been like 12 hours. I'd been there for like 12 hours having contractions. And they were like, well, you just have to go home. There's really nothing we can do. So we were like, okay. So we went home, and it was like 10 a.m. And I remember Derek got to get some sleep, and I was so glad that he slept from like 10 till maybe, it was in the afternoon, like 4 in the afternoon almost. I could not sleep at all. I was in so much pain. I would try to lay down, and every like minute and a half I would have a horrible contraction. I remember like standing on the side of the couch like this and just like doing like squats. I would just like squat and like try and just like have different feelings in my body, and I would just walk up and down the apartment, sat on the stupid ball thing, and I was just like, okay. And I'm like, how's the baby not here? So I was trying to wait 12 hours. I remember I was like, okay, so can we wait from like 10 in the morning till 10 at night before we go back? But it was like 6 at night, and I was like, we have to go back. Like this hurts so bad. I can't like have this baby here, and I don't know what's going on with my body. I can't handle this. So we went back to the hospital. It was like 24 hours later since we had already been there. And I was just crying. I was in tears. I remember Derek was like trying to park the car, and I was just like, I'm just gonna go up. I'll see you later. Like whenever you get here, that's fine. So I just like ran up there. And the night before, like while we were there, I wasn't in the bed the whole time. They had me walk around the floor for like 2 or 3 hours. So I did that. So I was very familiar with like the maternity ward. So I walked up there, and I just like bust through the office door, and I was like, okay, the baby's coming. I need to get in a room, get me in a room. And they're like, oh, she's back. Okay, get her in a room. So I went in there, and I was just like writhing in pain. I remember that I was like bleeding, and I like bled all over the floor, and like no one was in there. And I'm like, can someone help me with all this blood? And like I'm in a lot of pain. I don't know what to do. So they just did the same thing, like hooked me up, had all the little stuff on my stomach. And I was there like all night again, and there was again just like nothing they could do. They just kept on saying that I wasn't very much more dilated. Like I was only like 3 centimeters, and I think if I remember correctly, they want you at like 6 centimeters before they admit you into like the actual where you have the baby. But it had been like over 24 hours, and I was having the most painful, horrible contractions. I was like screaming. I remember like the night before, like, you know, when we came home from the hospital, like I took a shower because they said that would help. It really didn't. And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, when I go into labor, I'll like take a shower and like do my hair and put on some makeup. But I didn't, because even the night before when I had been there, like I was just like doing this on the pillow, you know, like I would just like smush my face into the pillow. I had all this like mascara and stuff like all over it, because you would just like brace yourself when the contractions come. And so I had like makeup all over it. So I was like, okay, makeup's not happening. Like I'm just rubbing the back of my head into the pillow every time I have a contraction anyway. So I just look like a mess. I don't even remember what I wore, because I was like, it doesn't matter, because they just put the gown on you as soon as you get there anyway. So like all the like cute things that I thought I would do just it just did not even matter to me anymore. So I don't even know what time it was, but it was like late at night, I guess on Sunday, and my contractions were just basically constant, and I was just like writhing in pain. And so one of the nurses, even though I wasn't 6 centimeters, she was just like, I heard her tell somebody else, like, we can't send her home. We can't send her home. What's she gonna do? We have to admit her. So she admitted me nicely. She was like my angel. After you've been in such horrible pain for that long, like your mind is just not even there. I didn't even like, I don't know what Derek was doing at that point. Like I couldn't, I think my eyes were closed a lot of the time, and I was just like, so she was like, I'm gonna get you a room, you're gonna go and you're gonna get an epidural. And I was like, okay, fine. And I had wanted to avoid all of that. I didn't want an epidural, I didn't want Pitocin, I just wanted everything to be natural. And so like Derek was really concerned because he knew that I didn't want any of that. And so like the fact that everything I said I didn't want, that was happening, he was like, oh no, like she's probably really upset. And I'm like, I'm just upset because I'm in so much horrible pain. So we got into the hospital room. It was very late at night, maybe like midnight, and they gave me the epidural. And then, you know, you just lay down after that and you can't feel your legs. They put like a catheter in, and they gave me Pitocin. Bless you, sweetie. And so I was on Pitocin, so then I was having my own contractions and like the drug-induced contractions. And at that point, my husband's mom came also. We had called her and said like, hey, we're in the hospital for the second time and now we're admitted, like now is probably the time to come. So she was the only family member besides Derek that was there. And then now that I was finally in a room, they had like actual doctors examining me, and they just kept saying, because we were at Kaiser and it's not like you really have one doctor that you see all the time. I don't know, I saw a bunch of doctors for all of my appointments, and then there were a bunch of doctors and nurses in and out while I was there because I was there for so long. And so every time they would come in, they would like feel me and they'd be like, wow, do you know how big this baby is? Because he seems like he's really big. I was like, I don't know, but they're like, yeah, this is gonna be a big baby. And then the other thing that they had to do, like your last appointment before you're probably gonna go into labor, they do a little test. Well, since we're talking about you, I guess you can be here. So anyway, they do this little test to see if you have like a staph infection, and most people do. It doesn't have any symptoms, but if the baby, you know, goes through your birth canal, then it would get the like bacteria, and you don't want that to happen. So they just make a note on your charts to give you some antibiotics when you start going into labor, so that the baby's protected when he's born. So then they started giving me those antibiotics, and oh my goodness, they just do like an IV in your arm. It felt like fire. Like when they did it, I was like, okay, this hurts worse than the contractions. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It was just burning. I think that was the worst pain of everything, was that the antibiotics. I couldn't believe it. And so like, and they have to do it like every 2 hours. So the next time they did it, I was like, oh my gosh, please don't. And they're like, well, we can dilute it. So they diluted it, and that helped a lot. But oh my goodness, that was so freaking painful. Plus, you know, they've got those things still on your stomach, and like your the little blood pressure monitor, whatever. My brain is like fried right now. And all that stuff was so uncomfortable, and it had been on me for just like dozens and dozens of hours. And so I kept like taking everything off. Like after they would come in and check my blood pressure, I would like slide it down because it was so annoying. And then like the things on my stomach, if I could still feel them, I'd like slide them a little bit so I could feel them. And then every time they'd come back in, they'd be like, don't take these off. Okay, you need these in there. I'd be like, okay. And then as soon as they left, I would just take them off again. So annoying. And then like you can't eat anything or even really drink anything. They were just giving me ice chips, which are amazing. Like they have like these little pink cups full of ice chips, and then they melt and there's some water in there. You're not really supposed to have the water, but I was just like, the water is so good. So yeah, that was like all day long Monday. I was in there too, and they would just keep coming in and be like, okay, we'll come back in like 2 or 3 hours and check and see if you're more dilated. And I just was never very much more dilated. I think at one point it even started to like regress. Yeah, that was you. That was your fault. And so, I mean, I was just laying there. You would kind of like fall asleep for a minute and just wake back up, and it just seemed like it was going to be never ending. Like I was never going to have this baby. And one thing too is like you're laying on your back, and so they want to kind of like shift you a little bit and like turn you onto your side. So a nurse came in and like turned me on my side, and then a few minutes later all these doctors and nurses rushed in because his heart rate was dropping really fast, and so they put me back on my back. But then a couple hours later, it was a new shift of nurses, and they came in and tried to flip me to the other side. And I was like, no, I think you're not supposed to do that. And they're like, no, you are. So they flipped me to the other side. And then again, a few minutes later, all these doctors and nurses rushed in. His heart rate is dropping. And that happened like multiple times. I'd be like, no, you're not supposed to do it. And they would. And so I don't know why that was happening, but it wasn't good to be on my side for him. And then eventually, like late at night on Monday night, this all started on Saturday. Monday night, he started to move above my epidural. Like he was like up at my boobs, like really, really, really high in my stomach. And so my body started contracting up there to get him out. And I could feel all of it. And so it was just constant contractions because it was my body's and from the Pitocin. And I just started yelling like, this hurts so much. He's so high. I don't know why he's so high. And so the doctors came in and then like started saying like, well, you know, it's been so long and it's been so much distress on you and on the baby. We might have to start thinking about other options. And they like wouldn't say the word. I'm like, C-section? C-section? Is that what you need to do? Okay, do whatever you need to do to get this baby out, because this is not working. Like this isn't happening. He's not moving down. He's not doing it. So what else do we need to do? Just do it. And they were like, well, there are risks associated and like, I don't know. I was just kind of waiting for them to stop talking. Like, okay, just do something, because I've been here for days and days just lying here with nothing happening besides frequent, intense, horrible, horrible contractions, and the baby is not cooperating. And I remember the whole time, it's weird that he's like right here as I'm talking about it, but I would like talk to him, but I would just call him baby. Like I didn't want to call him Jensen because I was kind of mad at him. Like he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, and it was getting scary, and I was having to do all of the things that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to have all those drugs, didn't want to have an epidural, didn't want to have a C-section, and like he just wasn't cooperating. And so I was just like, okay, baby, like you have to move down. Baby, why are you doing this? Come on, let's go. And so finally they just had me like sign some paperwork to do a C-section. And poor Derek the whole time, at least I was glad that his mom was there with him, because like it's so weird for your husband, because the doctors are used to seeing people in pain. Like that's their everyday, right? So, you know, you're like screaming and they're like, okay, you know, you'll be all right. And you're in pain, but you're not really scared because you're just like so focused on like, okay, we got to get this baby out. We got to get this baby out. But then your poor husband is just sitting there and he doesn't know what to do. And he's never seen you in this kind of pain before. And he just wants it to stop, but he wants his baby to be safe. And poor guy, it was so hard on him. So they finally had me just like sign the paperwork to have a C-section. I was like, just get it out, just get it out. And what were you doing that whole time? You were just chilling in there? Just trying not to come out? You weren't ready, I guess? I don't know. We still don't know why he was doing this. So, yeah, by the point that they were wheeling me into like the surgery room to have a C-section, I was in so much pain. I was just desperate. I was screaming. And they brought me in and they started like prepping me for surgery and, you know, like asking, can you feel this? Can you feel this? And I'm like, no, okay, just go, go, go. And then this nurse like leaned down next to me and she was like, can you turn your head and just smile at your husband because he's really worried? Oh man, that was like the hardest part. I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, because I'm going through this massive thing. I'm like kind of not even thinking about him. So I just had to turn my head and I saw him through like the windows of the doors and I just smiled. I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. And so he finally, you know, got like in the scrubs or whatever and was able to come in, and he was right next to me the whole time. Yeah, this is all for you. So they started the surgery and Derek could see like over the top. I couldn't see anything, but he saw like my guts being taken out and the baby being taken out. And then he got to go like cut the umbilical cord and like hold him skin to skin. And the whole ordeal was just awful. But when I heard his little cry, you know, like they make this little cry after they're born, I was just like, okay, like this is what everything is for. It's fine. And I was just so happy, and I just started saying like, hi baby, hi, I'm here. And they brought him around to me and they put his face up to my face, and I was like, hi baby, hi. And he was just like a minute old, but he smiled. His eyes were still closed and he smiled. We have a picture of it. His head's next to mine, and then I'm like really out of it, but and then Jensen's right next to me. And it was just like the sweetest thing. And that's kind of like the last thing I remember. It was such an emotional thing. It's like crazy. I haven't thought about it that many times really, even since it happened. You just like move on to the next, like, survive this, now you have a baby. So anyway, they took the baby, and then I couldn't move. I was, you know, like sedated and numbed and everything, and my arms were just shaking uncontrollably because they're like out like this, and they were just shaking, and I couldn't stop them, so I couldn't hold him. And my teeth were chattering uncontrollably, so I couldn't talk. I was just like, and I couldn't even talk through my chattering teeth. And I remember just like turning my head and throwing up and then passing out. I don't know how long that was. So the next thing that I knew, I just woke up and I was in this other room, and I still have no idea what that room was or like where I was. And I just woke up and Derek was sitting to the right of me, and he had Jensen, and he had his shirt off, and he was holding tiny baby Jensen on his skin. So they were doing the skin to skin that I couldn't do for him. And my mother-in-law was sitting there, and they just looked so happy. And I don't really even know how long I had been out, but I woke up and I just like, and I got to kind of hold him. My arms were still like really weak, but I was able to breastfeed him and just hold him on my skin. And I remember I just wanted water so badly, and there were no like nurses or doctors around for the longest time. And then because they just like give you time by yourself, but I'm like, I want a doctor to bring me water. And then finally like a nurse came in, and I was like, can I have some water please? And they said I couldn't for like a few hours. I was like, what? I'm so thirsty right now. And they wouldn't give me any. I was like mad. And then, I don't know, they made us stay in there for a while, like a few hours I think, and I don't even know what we were really doing. Do you remember? Remember what we were doing in there? I don't know. And then they had to like lift me kind of and get me onto like a rolly cart thing, whatever those are called, and then get me to like the recovery room. And then I had to like get off that and into the bed in the recovery room. And I remember them like asking me to like can you like move this way? I'm like, no, I can't move at all. Like I am completely numb, like from head to toe. Like I remember being really annoyed. And so he was born on Tuesday morning at 1 a.m. It was 12:59 in the morning by the time they like did the C-section. I think in another video, for some reason I said he was born on Wednesday, but it wasn't Wednesday, it was Tuesday. So Saturday to Tuesday was the labor. I don't even know how many hours. I never even like added it up, but it was craziness. So by the time we got into our room, it was like 5 a.m. and we slept for a second, but then at like 6 a.m. I think all the doctors' rounds started. So all these people started coming in, asking us all these things, checking on me, checking on the baby. And I just remember people talking to me and just being like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Hey bubs, hey. And they come in and like offer you food, and I just like didn't even know what to do with that. Like I still could not move. Like I still had a catheter, and I was like completely unable to stand or walk or do anything myself. But then, you know, the baby is there next to me, and I couldn't even like reach over and get him out of his little crib thing. Woohoo! Woohoo! Oh, that makes you happy. So he was about 9 pounds. I think he was 8 pounds 13 ounces. See, even all that, like, I don't know who his doctor was. Like, by the time he was born, I was so far gone that I just, like, I don't know. I feel like I kind of missed the birth. Like, they sort of did it without me. And then even the next few hours. But I would just have to have like Derek or the nurse or whatever like get him out of the little crib thing so I could nurse him, and then somebody would have to like change his diaper, and it takes so long to change diapers at the beginning. 'Cause they like circumcised him, and then he has like the little umbilical cord thing, and they don't give you wet wipes, they just give you like cloth dry ones, and then you have to like put them in the sink and like get them wet. And they're just so tiny, like, oh, it just, everything takes forever. So we were in the hospital Tuesday, like, because we were just there really early on Tuesday, so all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and then we left like Thursday evening. So we were there for pretty much 3 days since I had to recover from the C-section. Like Wednesday was the day when they took out the catheter, and I could kind of like stand again. And like I think I showered on like Wednesday night finally, but it was just crazy. I mean, I didn't have like my people there or anything really, and I was just, it just went so differently than I thought it was going to. And so like we don't even have like a picture of us, like, you know, like once I was kind of coherent again, you know, like sitting like at the hospital, like holding the baby, and like me and Derek, like we didn't do that. Derek had to go home to like get some sleep and get some food pretty often. So I would just be there, and the nurses would kind of help. Like it was a little bit of a weird experience, and I'm so glad that he's here and he's healthy and he's perfect and wonderful and whiny right now. But yeah, it was a little bit crazy. I mean, I know people kind of told me that, you know, like be prepared to not have it go how you expect, and that is what happened. And it's not like I'm like disappointed, because I still got my baby out of it, but it was hard. It was a hard like birthing experience to go through, because I went through labor for so long, and then just ended up having a C-section, and then you're so weak after you have the C-section, and you can't even stand. You can't even really like stand up straight, because your stomach is just, it's just been cut open, and so the recovery was hard and long, and yeah, the first week and month and everything is really nuts. So I can make like a separate video about that, but yeah. Anyway, I think he is like, has had his fill of talking about his reluctant entry into this world. Yeah, how come? Why didn't you want to come out of my tummy after all that work? You just weren't ready? So anyway, he was born on the 7th, and he is wonderful, and I just got lipstick on your forehead. And he is perfect and the best gift we could have ever asked for. And we're gonna go outside and have a little adventure. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you so much for watching. Woo! I just wanted to share this with you and have it for myself, and birth is crazy, guys. Birth is so crazy. So anyway, I look forward to making another video soon. I will talk to you soon. Bye.